So I've recently been on like a few networking calls, and some of them just include like alumni from my school who are like, so one of them, like one of their names is like Preston, and he's currently like one of the head traders at like a Deutsche Bank. But would like continuing and just like straight up logically, like because I'm trying to get into IB, right? And he's working at like a sales and trading department, would continuing like putting in effort basically in terms of like keeping that relationship between me and him alive, like could it possibly be like a path of me getting into a Deutsche Bank? Would you say so? If he's not really an investment banker?
Um, well, you have no interest in sales and trading whatsoever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just reached out to him because, I mean, he's one of our alumni.
Yeah. All I was gonna say is if you have no interest in sales and trading whatsoever, then yeah, you don't have to like pretend you're interested in sales and trading. Like what I would do is obviously still talk to him, or it sounds like you've already talked to him. Try to have a great conversation, um, get him to like you, and get him to want to help you. And if you can get to that point, then the main thing that I would try to get out of that relationship is if he could introduce you to other people at DB that are either in the investment banking division, or it doesn't even have to be other people at DB. He probably has other friends that work in IB, potentially even at other firms, right? But like if you're not interested in his team anyway, then it doesn't matter, right? Like it's not like he's trying to get you for his own team, and so sometimes they'll be willing to introduce you to other people, and that's probably like the
Mhm.
best thing you can get from him because he's not gonna be able to get you an interview for IB because he's not in IB,
Right.
right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Like if your school doesn't have, um, I would say if your school I think your school should have at least some alumni that are on the IB side. So I would focus on those people first. But then obviously, like if those have already been exhausted and like this guy's in sales and trading, um, he could still be helpful. It's like a
It,
bit more indirect than just talking to someone in IB. That's why I recommend starting with the people in IB. But it's not completely worthless.
it's just that like I've like you kind of said, like I've already like reached out to some of the people who are like either currently seniors or who are like who've worked at some of these bulge bracket banks for about like an year or two. But and some of them like I've been able to develop some like good relationship like over like a phone call or numerous phone calls, and they themselves have like directly said to me that like they don't have like enough experience within their firms yet so that like their referrals actually mean anything. And I've kind of asked like, and I've asked like numerous people like, do you have any like other connections that I might be able to reach out who might, like just directly, because it kind of got to that point where I can ask them like 3 questions and said like, do you have any connections who maybe are able to like refer me, like you've kind of gotten once like yourself, and um, just haven't really been able to get any like positive answers towards it yet. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things there, right? I think like your school is probably more of a non-target school for most banks. I think like unless are you in the business school or no?
I'm planning on transferring after this semester. Yeah.
Okay. Um, if you're in the business school, maybe it might be like a semi-target, but if you're not in a business school, then it's probably a non-target, right? And so like, um, I think that like the way non-target recruiting works at most banks is that because a lot of target schools, like if you go to like a Wharton or like whatever Harvard, Columbia, et cetera, like like they have their own like recruiting team dedicated to that school that's made up of alumni from that school, and usually like those are the people you want to talk to if you go to those schools, right? Like if you go to Wharton, you want to talk to like the Wharton recruiting team, and there will be like a recruiting captain, this and that, right? If you go to a non-target school, usually like your school is probably not enough of a priority for them to have like its own recruiting team, but like there's not enough alumni to like have your own recruiting team. But then usually there's going to be um, maybe like a non-target someone like that's responsible for recruiting for non-target schools in general. So like they just lump all the non-target schools together, right? So you might want to try to find out like who those people are, who's like in charge of non-target recruiting, right? Also, like, I don't know if you're doing this, but like when you're networking, you don't have to limit it to just like alumni from your school. Like if you go to a non-target school, I would go on LinkedIn and try to find as many bankers as you can who also went to other non-target schools, right? Because one, if they went to other non-target schools, there's fewer people reaching out to them from their own schools because there's probably not as many people from their schools that are trying to break into banking. And then two, also like they're gonna sympathize more with your situation, also coming from a non-target school because they've been through it before. And three, they might be more familiar with, who is in charge of non-target recruiting, or they themselves might be a part of that, right? They might be on a non-target. So like that's one thing is like you got to think again. We talk about this in the networking module. You got to think outside of just like school alumni, especially if you don't go to like one of the main target schools where your alumni are everywhere, right? So that's one.
Mhm.
And two is you should try to talk to more senior folks, right? Like I know like everyone always tries to just like talk to like analysts and associates and people that just started their jobs and they're closer to you in age, it's less intimidating. You feel like you have more in common and it's easier to have a conversation with them that's not awkward or whatever. But like it's exactly what they said, which is they don't usually have as much sway unless they happen to be like the analyst that's on the recruiting team, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, they're
Yeah.
responsible. Like usually like the responsibility of like filtering through the entire stack of resumes, they'll give it to like the junior person, like they'll give it to the analyst because like MD's not gonna spend time doing that, right? That's like grunt work, right? But like you don't know who that person is unless you can identify who they are. But otherwise, like yeah, I would rather like for the same amount of time, I would rather talk to a more senior person. Because if you can have like just one good conversation with someone who's like a managing director and they really like you, like they can make things happen,
Right.
right? They're like I've had clients that just like single-handedly got interviews just because one managing director liked them and went and said, hey, we got to interview this guy, right? So
Mhm.
if you're going to spend 30 minutes talking to someone, might as well make it count.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more customized advice that's tailored for your specific situation, then I invite you to book a free strategy session with our team at the link below. We'll talk to you soon.